right, people. Can you hear me okay? And can you see the screen okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Welcome back. All righty. Now let's see. We're gonna continue with our deep dive into this thing here now. Right, so we were just about to get some opinions from some persons, right? So some people said they would use that 1200 to get a new well, one person said a new camera. No, two persons, right? So I think I should start with one more question. Mr. Archibald, as you step through the door, right? The virtual door. How are you doing, Mr. Archibald? You good?
Yes, sir. Boy, sir.
Yeah, man. As you step through the door, eh?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Why which one of these options would you choose? I don't think I'd ask you yet. I give you 1500 US. Which one you buying? This is the old model, by the way. So, right. But, you know, are you buying a 15 Pro Max? Actually, 15 can't buy that. Or at least a 13 Pro Max. Or are
yes,
you
sir.
buying...
I'll buy the phone. The camera,
you buy the phone?
the Canon. So I will actually take the camera, to be honest, sir.
Canon. The camera? Why?
Sir, it will be more beneficial that way in terms of quality-wise and more production.
All right.
In my opinion.
In your opinion?
Yes, sir.
So, in your opinion, the professional camera, in this case, this looks like could be a SLR or mirrorless. We're going to look at those types. But in your opinion, that camera would give you a better quality than the phone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know the phone them nowadays can compete with these phone nowadays. I know the camera them, high quality camera them. But still camera them have their purposes, you know, where I would say them more better for videoing, like catching moments, you know, and definitely imaging as well.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. But I know I don't have telepathic powers, but I think I can hear some persons that possibly disagree with that. Nobody? Why are we getting the camera? So it has better quality. Anybody want to debate that? Does the camera have better quality?
It depends on what you see quality as.
Good question. Good answer.
But resolution, yes, the camera has better resolution.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, sir. Are we talking specifically this camera or just?
No, don't have to be this one. But you know, I just want to compare apples to apples. I mean, you know, just like how they are expensive phones, they are expensive cameras. So, well, what's the most expensive camera phone that you can buy nowadays? Wouldn't it be the...
Well, so there's a lot, sir. There's a lot, there's a lot of them, sir. I think but right now, to be honest, in my opinion, I think the S24 Samsung are the best, sir.
All right. Okay, cool.
Samsung have the best quality camera, sir. Nothing can compete with it. Except maybe that camera.
And the Note series has excellent zoom too.
Oh, true. Yeah. All right. Cool. And the iPad, of course. I don't hear my iPad defenders stepping up to say, no, the iPad has the best camera in cell phones. How comes I didn't hear that from anybody?
Eh, I wouldn't put my life on the line for that one, sir.
All right, fair enough. Okay, well, let's look at this exactly and try to look at some different types of cameras, right? The first job that I got, let me see. I actually got my first job during my final crit, right? I remember. And the first thing that I got to do in the office was they needed some photographs of all the projects that they did, right? And I got to go. This was at Clifton Yap Architect, so he worked on a lot of resorts. So I got to drive around and like take photos. I think it was GIA week, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was literally the first job I got in the office. You know, so that was interesting. I got into all the beach free, right? Splash around for a bit too. Why not, right? Anyway, so yeah, most offices today they probably have a camera, or they at some point they're going to need to take pictures. And we already spoke from earlier today about the different types of pictures. It could be technical pictures where you're capturing, how far the construction is along, or it could be pictures where you want to capture the essence of the building so it's more artistic, right? In this case, I'm going to use these two examples, right? These are my devices currently, and this slide changes from time to time, but so currently I have a Lumix camera. This particular camera, let's switch up here. There we go. Right. So this particular camera, which is this one, by the way, this metal thing here, hold on a second. There we go. I'm gonna get some light. Right. So this is a little deceiving. So let me remove the cage. Actually. Wow, it feels so lonely now. But anyway, so this is the Lumix camera, right? This particular camera is what you call a mirrorless camera, right? Sorry for the dust. It's a little dusty, as you can see. And here we have, I would like to say this is a high-end phone. It's I think maybe the S23 maybe have a better camera. But this has some pretty good cameras as well, right? So we want to compare these two, right? I know that this is our example of a budget phone. This is the A15, I think. Samsung A15, right? It has a camera. But for right now, we're not going to compare this one just yet. We're going to look on these two, right? All right, so from a spec, there we go, specifications point of view, and I'm leaving out a lot of specs here. I'm just focusing on some of the main sellers. Like, what is the number one thing that you look on when you're going to buy a phone? Anybody?
Storage.
For the camera, not the phone in general. I hear somebody say quality. All right. So
Sir,
what
the
value?
megapixels, sir, the megapixels and everything.
Ah, the megapixel. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So this. So I'm
The
just
sensor size.
using the sensor size. All right. Cool. Getting a little scientific here, but that's good because that's what I want. I want us to at least understand the basics of the camera, right? So this camera here is 21 megapixels. 21 megapixels, right? And there are some other values here that we're going to talk about during all the next couple of weeks. It have a f-stop of, it has 2 f-stop numbers. The reason for that is because it has a lens that can zoom. So hence the lens have 2 different values. And this is the sensor size. Now this other phone here, this is my Z Fold, right? And this phone has 3 cameras on the back, right? Anybody can tell me how much cameras this phone have? Any phone? How many cameras?
4.
How much cameras is this?
I believe it's 5, sir.
Exactly. It has a crazy 5 cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is under here, right? Underneath there. So that's interesting. But anyway, let's go back to the specs, right? Now, I'm only caring about the 3 on the back because the other 2 are really just convenience cameras, so you don't have to open the phone or you don't have to like turn the phone backwards if you want to make a video call, right? So we usually, for most cell phones, take with pictures on the back. We're using the back cameras. So one of the camera, which is, it has 50 megapixels, right? And this one is the 23 millimeter lens. Now we're going to talk about this in a little bit, right? The lens. The next camera it has is a 12 megapixel ultra wide, right? So ultra wide means that you can see more. It's wide angle, right? But we're going to look in that a little bit. And then it has a telephoto, right? And telephoto, that's the one that you zoom in to get those portrait shots. You know, when you want to see somebody's like eyeball, or you want to catch a picture of the tiger in the jungle, right? So you need to zoom in. So most modern, I would say, higher end phones will have about 2 or 3 cameras, right? And if you look at the megapixels, if we're using megapixels to be our judgment here, right? This camera is only 1 camera, right? It doesn't have 3 different cameras, right? That's on the side of the Lumix. But on the side of this Note, which is comparable to S23 or even the iPhone, because I think the iPhone, what was it again? 13? You say it was 13 Pro Max you had, or 14? I don't remember. But it has 3 cameras, right? Who can confirm that for me?
14, and yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. The 13
And-
Pro Max as well has 3 cameras.
Exactly. And most high-end phones have 3 because one is for taking close-up shots, one is for normal shots, and one is for wide angle, right? So we're for our case, we're going to use this fold to kind of represent most high-end phone, right? So the normal camera has 50 megapixels. That's like twice what this heavy bulky camera has. Of course, the one and the other one has 12 megapixels, and the telephoto has 10 megapixels, right? Now, on the side of the camera, right, notice that each of these cameras that you have on the back of your phone, it has a specific lens, meaning you can't zoom a camera phone lens, or can you? Anybody has an answer to that? Can you zoom a camera phone lens?
With some phones, sir. A few.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
That is a good answer, right? Right. So the truth is that when you have a normal, professional camera, right? I mean, that's a professional, a SLR camera, right? Usually it comes with a lens, and the lens is adjustable. In the case of the cell phone, you're really switching between 3 different lenses, but they use some camera tricks, pun intended, right? So that it looks like you're kind of zooming the lens. It's kind of fading between each of the, this thing has shorts. Hold on one sec. There we go. Come on. Okay, you don't want to move. I'm trying to, okay, there we go. Right. Right. So where's my camera app here? Oh, right. Okay, so here goes the camera app. And if you look, if I'm going to take a picture, I can go between that lens. This is the wide angle, the normal, and the telephoto, which is the one where you get real close, right? Hold on, let's try and let me disconnect this. And let's see if I can pull it up. Full screen, does this help? Maybe not. Not really, but hopefully you can see it a little bigger. All right, there we go. It's a little bigger, right? Now, the truth is that when you, for those of you who have a phone, when you pinch and zoom, it's kind of automatically switching between the 3 different lenses. So what it is really doing is zooming in. It's doing a digital zoom halfway and then fades into the next lens. That gives you a change in frame of view, but it's doing it seamlessly so it appears to be zooming. It's not really zooming, right? So what that means is that if you are in between, so let's say that this is one lens here. So I have 0.6, I have 1, and I have 3. So if I go to 2, then it's kind of going in between one lens and with another. So it's a little, how you say it now? You're kind of getting halfway the quality of the photo, but you know, you don't really notice it that much. Now, let me bring up something else here. There we go. So for the telephoto lens, this is the lens that you would kind of zoom in to get a close-up, right? If you were in a wider angle lens like this one, and then you try to move the camera closer, then you might notice that it looks a little blurry. Anybody ever tried that yet? So you realize now that I'm trying to focus this thing and it's a little blurry. And instead, what you have to do is change the lens to the telephoto lens, and then you kind of back out a little bit, and then you get it to be nice and sharp. Now, this is one of the first kind of, I would say, limitations of using a phone camera, is the fact that in a camera, there are 3 major, let's just call them adjustments that you can make. And your typical phone, well, in this case, this is a more high-end phone, it will allow you to adjust one of them. Now, the other two values that you adjust is a little bit, what do you call it now? Pretend adjusting. You know, they're using a little bit of camera tricks in the background to let it feel like you're adjusting it. But really, the only thing that you really manage on your phone device is the brightness, right? How much exposure, right? However, a camera has three main things that it adjusts. And this is why sometimes when you hear somebody say about shooting in a manual mode, it means that you are in control of all those three things. Now, the first misconception is that just because you're using a better camera, though, means that you're taking better pictures, right? So that is not the reason why you would get this other camera here. As a matter of fact, if you just look at the megapixels alone, you realize that the lens, let me show you the lens. This lens here has 50 megapixels. So, of course, it gives more megapixels to the lens, or let's just say to the camera, because this really just has three different cameras. It gives more megapixels to the camera that most people use the most. And this is going to be the 23 millimeter lens, right? Now, because this is the most popular, they give it the more megapixels. Now, the more megapixels you have is the sharper the image. So when you look on these two cameras, you might say, okay, well, if I'm using a 23 millimeter lens here, I'm getting 50 megapixels. But if I have my big bad SLR camera here, I'm only getting 21 megapixels, right? And you might say, well, but so the phone has a higher resolution. And that's the first advantage of the phone. Most phones will have a higher resolution than your, let's just say, SLR and DSLR and mirrorless cameras, which is kind of interesting. So you might ask the question as, okay, so I have this other camera here. Like, there must be a reason why these cameras are still selling. Like, think about things that people no longer buy. I don't know. CDs. Okay, CDs are a bit too old. But think about technologies that people no longer buy. Right? Anybody still have a BlackBerry phone? Anybody? The BlackBerry not too bad. I mean, we still know what BlackBerry is, right? I'm not that old, right?
And DVD players.
Sure, we
And
do have
DVD
them there again,
players.
sir. We do have them there again.
And Motorola. Motorola.
Right. Ironically, flip phones are coming back. Eh? Anyway, but these cameras are still selling, and for a long while, this kind of eluded me because I'm like, when I look on paper and I look on the numbers, the cell phone camera is just miles better than my digital camera here. What is really the advantage of getting this digital camera? Is it just for show? Like, ooh, look at me, I have a professional camera, so my pictures are going to look better than yours? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I did a photo shoot of an entire building using a camera. I would use an iPhone, and those pictures look, I would say, pretty decent. Let's see here. I normally save it in a camera examples. Try and locate this guy here. There we go. There we go. Right. And I mean, all of this was what? The 13 Pro Max? So obviously the cell phone, and I mean, I don't even need to show you this, but I mean, for those of you who have cell phones, they take pretty good images. And the resolution is higher. So what is it that these cameras have that people still want to buy them?
So you have bokeh, which is
Yeah, but you can get, okay, and for those of you who don't know what bokeh is, it's like that nice blurry effect that you get when you take a like a portrait picture. So or it doesn't have to be a portrait picture, but where is visor? Where is it? Here you go. There we go. Right. So for example, oh, this is too big. I thought I could get it on both. Maybe if I turn it this way a little better. It's a little wider. Right. So for example, when I use my let's say close-up camera here and kind of get, you see this is my remote for the light. Can you guys see on the background where you kind of have that nice blurry background with the lights?
Yes, sir. Keyboard.
Right, that is what we call the bokeh, and that is the beautiful stuff. And guess what? This is a cell phone, so my cell phone can do this. And
yes, sir. But sir, I can argue that you can't really control it as much with the cell phone as you can with the digital camera.
that is true. That is true. And for those of you who are camera enthusiastic, you would say, but sir, that is not real bokeh. That's kind of a fake-ish kind of, and you can't get to control it. I mean, basically blurry backgrounds. But the cell phones have gotten really good at giving you blurry backgrounds. As a matter of fact, there's this mode here that I normally use to take pictures of food. It's like a food mode. Is it portrait? I think is it portrait or is it? Some of these cameras have like food. There we go. And that will give you some nice, blurry bokeh kind of background, and it will fake it as well. And it looks pretty good. The photographer will say, well, that's not very accurate. And that's true. But then, when you post it on whatever place or put it on the website, most people just say, oh, what a nice picture, of a remote. So the question is then still, what is it that the cameras have that the cell phones don't have? Obviously, it must have something. That's why people still buy them, right? And I also want to bring this up to you as well, because you guys are in a visual field, and it might sound weird for me to say this, but especially if you do 3D renderings and animations, a physical camera can help you a whole lot with 3D renderings and animations. And ironically, it doesn't help you directly. It's not like you're going out to snap a picture to put in your 3D model. It's the knowledge of how camera and light works that I don't know how to explain it, but you somehow absorb that knowledge more when you do it in the real world. And hence your renderings and animations end up looking better, because certain rules that apply to the real world, you apply it in the virtual world, and then your virtual, deliveries start to look way better, right? But anyway, we're going to touch on that as we go further in the lessons. But back to this topic here. Now, there are some advantages. For one, I mean, if you look on your cell phone, it's convenient. Most people who have a phone use the camera, I don't know, half the time. Because it's a phone. It has apps, it has games, it has a bunch of stuff, right? So one would say, well, if my phone takes good pictures and it can do all of these things, why not just get a phone? So, okay, fine. Some people would say that it is cheaper than a camera. I mean, if you look up the price for a camera now, it costs about the same as a phone, but the most expensive normal phone, and I said normal phone because I'm not talking about like give me an expensive phone. That's not normal. Like a gaming phone or one of those special phones
So
that has
Razer them, sir. I
right.
don't know if you know the Razer phone. Those are gaming phones.
Right. But I'm talking about the average normal expensive phone. Like the Fold. The Fold costs a lot of money. I mean, because it have a lot of screens, you know, more manufacturing. But like the S23 or the iPhone 15, all of those are in and around what? $1,400 new US, right? All of them are around that range. But your SLR camera, I mean, $1,000 is like a affordable SLR camera, right? So it's almost like saying the cameras start where the phones end, almost, because you can get a good enough camera for like $600 nowadays, you know. But essentially saying like a professional proper camera can cost like even 5,000 US, like it's, and that's not even the most expensive one. So you can't even think down the end of that road. So
Sir, that's budget, sir.
exactly. That is when you come to start thinking of that. And that makes the process of even choosing a camera a little bit more complicated. Because when you think about budget, like especially if you have an old phone, then you say, well, I'll just get a newer cell phone and I'll get a good camera with it. Right? So what we want to do is look on the types of cameras and why is it that you would want to get this kind of camera. And some of the reasons are very technical, but some of the other reasons are psychological, which has its value, right? So firstly, the number one difference between cell phones and cameras is, and somebody said it earlier, is what's highlighted here in yellow. Let's compare it. The 50 megapixel camera in this particular phone, which is the best camera, the highest resolution camera, the size of the sensor is about 4 millimeters by 3 millimeters. That's like very tiny. That is like smaller than well, you guys have a ruler. You guys are in architecture, you know scale. That's pretty small. All of the sensor sizes in the cell phones are basically between 4 millimeter and 3 millimeter. As far as I know, don't quote me on it, but there is no cell phone that has a larger sensor than this. So the question is, okay, what does sensor do? Obviously, it's not megapixels, because this phone here, which maybe costs almost the same as this camera, has a lot of megapixels, 50 megapixels, very sharp. And this camera has 21 megapixels. Who remembers from DDM days, how do you work out resolution from megapixels? Anybody remember?
No, sir.
Some divisions, sir.
Some division. All right, so long story short, let me get out my calculator. You can use the square root. So if this phone is 50 megapixels, so 50, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I do the, where is square root on this camera? Oh, I need to use the scientific camera, the scientific calculator. Okay, 50, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Where are you? Oh, square root. There we go. All right, what is that figure there? That's 7,000, right? So basically, what this is saying is when this phone takes a shot, it will generate an image that is 7,000, like saying 7K, right? So 7,000 by 7,000. On the other hand, my Lumix camera here, it's 21 megapixels, right? So let's see what that has to say, right? So 21 megapixels. If we go over here, 21. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Favorite of that. 4,500. So this camera will take an image that is about 4,000 odd. So let's just call it 4K, right? And you guys know these terminologies, right? I mean, you watch movies, you look on televisions, you look on games, everything is all K, this, K, that, 2K, 4K, 8K, right? That is like the talk nowadays, right? HD is like 1K, so to speak, but nobody walks around saying 1K, right? You say HD. So you go out, you look in ports or some store and you see the big 4K on the TV. That simply means that it is 4,000 pixels wide, right? So imagine this phone says 7K. That means it will take a picture that is up to 7,000 pixels wide,
Sir.
right? Yeah, go ahead.
You know the S23 are 200 megapixels, right?
Which is just like mind blowing. I think I heard that.
Yes,
Like, I wonder what size picture can that take. Whoa, let's check this out. When they say values like this, sometimes
So I
they're
think that's
using
trick to it, you know.
yeah, they're using scientific, it's like
So what it does, sir, is so what it does, like it shift. I think what it does, it takes multiple pictures and it shifts the pixels around. So like that's how it multiplies to get to the 200. So
right.
not exactly 200, but because it's taking multiple pictures and some kind of merging together.
Exactly. And that is a feature that is called high resolution mode, which I'll come to that further down, later on, right? But yes, that is a feature that is in cameras. But anyway, so the point out, and of course, when an image is 7K by 7K, the ratio is a square. But normally, when you're talking about televisions and you say 4K, it's not like you're saying 4,000 by 4,000 because they have a widescreen ratio. So you're talking about 4,000 by 3,000 or whatever. But the point is that the 4K and the 7K, it means pretty much that the horizontal width in pixels is what it is. So a 7K, like imagine you have a 4K TV, have that in your mind, and this phone can take a 7K image. Like, whoa, that's a high resolution image. This camera, on the other hand, can take a 4K-ish image, and you're like, okay, that's pretty sharp, but not close to 7K. But look at the sensor size. So 4 by 3. Let's work that out. So let's call it about 12. So these sensor sizes run about 12 millimeter square. We're just kind of averaging it, kind of just averaging it there, right? And the camera has 224 millimeters square, right? So when you look at this number, you must be saying like, all right, so obviously I am paying because this one has a bigger sensor, but what does a bigger sensor really do for me? Is that worth having a device that cannot make calls, download apps, play games? It can only take pictures. Right? I mean, when you do the math, it's 18 times bigger. The sensor size here is 18 times bigger. Now, we understand resolution because we see resolution every day. We see televisions that say 4K and 2K. We see games that say, play in HD, play in 4K, right? We see Blu-ray and movies that say things like, this movie has been upscaled to 4K, and you hear these terms being thrown around. So we are more familiar with megapixels and resolution than we are familiar with sensor size. I mean, nobody don't really go around saying, well, my sensor size is 17.3 by 13 millimeters. You'd be like, okay, what does that really do? And like, if you should look at some photos that the phone takes and that the camera takes, you'll be like, but the phone is perfectly well and capable of taking pictures. And that is very true, because apart from the fact that this sensor size, it feels small, this is this is very adequate to take pictures. So the interesting thing is that if we come back to the back to this example that we have here, right? So we have this cell phone here, which is maybe 3 times the price of this one here, right? So this is the A series, and this is Z Fold. This can take 50 megapixels, so very high resolution pictures. This, I don't remember the specs of this, but it's pretty small. But both of them have the same sensor size, right? They don't have the same sensor. It's like saying
The time is 7
this is a Audi hatchback car, and this is a give me another one, guys. Give me a affordable car. A what? A Tida, right? A Tida, right? So this is a Tida, and this is a Audi, but both of them are hatchback. So they will get you to where you want to go, and it's not like this one here can hold more stuff than this one. I mean, maybe the Audi is faster and it have more fancy features. But what I'm trying to get at is that this here has 18 times the sensor size as these two. So what's really going on here, right? Like, if I'm going to pay $1,500 for this, and I'm going to pay, I don't know, $200 for this, and they have the same sensor size, but this has more megapixels, and of course it has other features too. It has, it can flip and all these fancy things, but we're just talking about the camera, right? So in a way, I almost sometimes call it a trickery because when they say that, the new phone has way better low light and this and this and that, but at the end of the day, they really have the same sensor size as the cheapest phone on the market. I mean, maybe one of them is like 0.5 millimeter bigger than the other, but again, this is 18 times bigger. So we're not talking about, anything that's even close to how this is. So obviously between cell phones, you're not really paying for the difference in sensor size. So that is the part that I want to kind of just touch on a little bit. How valuable is sensor size? And does that make you want to buy this camera phone here, this type of camera here, right?
So did you tell us what the sensors are about?
Well, that's what I'm getting to, right? I just wanted to lay the foundation, right? Right. So, how do I switch this thing now? Go back. Right. So back before we went off, we were talking a little bit about how cameras work, and I have this very horrible concoction of a diagram here, but hopefully we can get the point, right? So Cameras let light into the body of the camera, whether it's a cell phone camera or a SLR camera, doesn't matter. There are some doors that open up and it allows light to come in. In this case, the light is like a pipe with water. So when these doors open, the light comes in, and then there's a funnel that controls how much light, i.e. water, gets caught in these buckets down here. Right? Now these buckets represents the sensor. And that is all the camera does. These doors open, light comes flooding in, it gets filtered, like a filter is, it's like a funnel. So, you have a lot of water coming on one end and you squeeze it down so that you have less pressure coming in. And then when a certain amount of water is here, the door closes and no more water can get in. In a nutshell, that is what a camera does. Doors open, light comes in, doors close, and it gets captured in these buckets. Now, if you put a more scientific diagram to it, this is what you would kind of see, right? You take a picture, it has a lens, but this here is the sensor size. And this is what we talk about when we're talking about 18 times bigger and all of this stuff. This is really what makes the difference here, right? Now, generally speaking, when you compare sensor sizes, the smallest sensor size that you can buy is in a cell phone. And obviously, the cell phone is much smaller, so it can't afford to have big sensors because of the width of the the depth, the thickness of the cell phone and all of that. Now, in our analogy here, water is kind of like, it's representative of light, but for a camera, light is like information. And information can't necessarily be measured in resolution or what are these other values that they use? Color balance, white balance, what's the other thing? Low light performance. Like, you can't measure information. And think about it like this way, right? If you collect a bunch of information, let's say you have all the information of all the students in CSA, right? I mean, it's really only valuable to you if it is something that you can use, right? So with a camera, information is light, and the more information you have is the more you can get from your image. And resolution is just one of the things that you can get, right? So a larger sensor captures more information, but information does not necessarily mean a sharper image, right? Information can mean, it usually means a less noisy image, a clearer image. Those would be the proper words to determine it. When you say the word sharper, you're kind of talking about resolution. So I like to say a clearer image, a less noisy image. So, for example, I know this example is weird because it's in the bathroom, but you get the point. When you look at an image like what I showed you earlier, like this one here, right? So these were some images that I took with my cell phone, and they look pretty good because remember, light is information. So when you have a lot of information, in this case, a lot of light, it's daytime pretty much. There's light coming in from this window here. There's some light over here. You can get a decent image. However, it is when you have the lack of information that things start to get a little bit fuzzy. Now, most of us probably try taking pictures at nighttime, right? And we realize that is kind of what makes or breaks the camera, right? And it's kind of what most cell phone companies do to say, hey, look, this has great low light capability. But let me give you an example of what the sensor does for you, right? And it's not just the sensor alone, but it's the primary thing. Now, I think I showed you this image already. It's one of my most favorite images, right? Anybody remember me showing you this image? Last year?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is an image I used in a presentation that I did. Here's the presentation here. There we go. Let me kind of zoom out a little bit. It was this. So this was a presentation here. And then at the top was this nice wide angle shot. And the moon was actually right there. It was like a perfect night for taking a picture, right? I mean, I did kind of accentuate it a little bit, but this is an image, right? And this was taken, if we can look here, these are different parts of the image. File info. Right, so this was not my camera, by the way. This was actually my dad's camera, which is even older than this camera, right? Which was a Nikon D50, right? And well, this time is obviously wrong, but it's probably like about 9 o'clock in the night, right? And this place is pitch black. Now, I'm going to show you some of the footage that was captured. Let's go with this one. All right. We'll try to, okay, there we go. All right. Now this, that, and that, keep going, and that. These are all the same image, all taken at like pretty much 9 o'clock in the night, right? This is Kingston over here. This is in Portmore, by the way, right by the anybody the Bayview development. So it's pretty much right. Yeah. So it is pretty much
Close to the bridge.
Close to the bridge. Yes, it is. Here. Hold on. Where am I? Causeway. Come down. Yeah, and this. Yeah, it's like right here. Somewhere right here. Like probably about here. So when I'm looking across, I'm seeing Kingston in the background. All right. So that kind of just establishes where we are. All right. So this is that what you're seeing there. Now, when I talk about information, right? This is what it, when you go out and you at nighttime and you look out of your eyeballs, you don't see stuff this dark. Like what you see is maybe more like this from your eyes. And that's because, your eyes can capture more information. The sensor size in your eyeballs is the most expensive sensor size that you can afford, and you can't buy them and you can't make them, right? So pretty much this is what the typical sensor would limit you to capture. There is information up here, but it doesn't have enough. The sensor isn't capable of capturing, or rather processing, that information. In this case, it's these clouds that is here. So obviously one of the main advantages of a bigger sensor is that you have better low light performance. But the truth is that most, 90%, well, let me not say, but most of us aren't necessarily going out at nighttime to take night shots. So one of the first misconceptions is that, well, I'm not taking night shots, so it doesn't matter. The sensor is good for capturing when there's a lack of information. So for example, me taking this picture with a larger sensor allows the camera to see all of these details in the clouds and all of that much better, or even makes it even possible. Now, so that's one thing that a good sensor, that a larger sensor can give you in terms of information. There is another thing that a bigger sensor gives you. It's a little hard to explain visually, but it's called dynamic range. Anybody ever heard the term dynamic range?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is dynamic range? I can show you an example of dynamic range, but the example that I show you is not that I'm saying that when you go out and you buy a camera, this is what it will do for you. I just want to show you an example of what dynamic range is. So I had this example up. Okay, yeah. Photoshop here.
Sir, the photo with the toilet. What about that one? What were you trying to show us there?
I want to show you that one, but I want to give you a more extreme example so you get the point of what I'm saying, and then we'll go back to the toilet. There we go. I had to restart my computer before class, so I kind of lost where this thing was. It's somewhere here. I actually showed you this image years ago. So it's funny how I see you at the beginning and then I see you guys again at the end. And a lot of the stuff that I show you is, okay, here we go. All right. Okay, here we go. Photoshop. Right. Good. So this is a good example of what dynamic range is, right? So dynamic range is great for when you are editing pictures, not necessarily for taking pictures, but editing pictures. So for example, when you see a picture like this, if I snap a picture like this, then obviously up here is like totally blown out, it's white. And that means that the information up here is like, all the pixels up here is white. But dynamic range means that even though your monitor and your eyeballs can only see white here, there is actually more information there, but it's just not visible, right? So if I should use a exposure to show you the example here, if I adjust the exposure, now look at all that information that was there all along. All that information was there, but you couldn't see it because the range of information is there, but it's not visible. So that's kind of what dynamic range is. A better sensor is able to capture information that even you can't see. So for the average person, information that you can't see isn't valuable. Like let me show you an example. So for example, with this image here, this is the same image. Now, if I went out and snap a picture here, and you wanted, let's say that up here was too bright, right? This is what would normally happen. Like you shoot a picture with a cell phone and bam, you take the picture up there and you say, oh crap, up here is too bright. And if you try to make it, where is it? Exposure, right? If you try to adjust it, then this is what will happen, meaning, the whole picture will go dark, meaning the information that is in this white space is nothing but white pixels. But dynamic range means that there is more information. So let me go back to the default. There is information that you can't see, and your eyeballs and your monitors can only see information within a certain spectrum. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. So for the person that is doing editing, so let's say you took this picture here and you are trying to edit it. All of this information is there, but you need to edit it out. You need to go into Photoshop or Lightroom, and the information is there because your camera had enough dynamic range to capture it, right? But the information that you can't see is valuable if you are the person that's doing the editing. And you say, oh crap, I didn't catch a picture of the clouds. Well, you have enough dynamic range that you could actually turn down the brightness and get back the image of the clouds. All right, so do you guys understand what I mean by dynamic range?
Yes, sir.
All right, now to take a photo like this with this amount of dynamic range, I mean, I don't want to think about the price of this camera, right? You're gone into the Lamborghinis of cameras, right? But the
So
point
dynamic range is basically more information, sir.
is more information, right?
Okay.
Information comes from having a larger sensor, right? But the trick is that there is information that you can't see, so hence it might not be valuable to you. So you snap a picture with your cell phone, it looks great, like picture of what I took here. These look great. You know, I don't need to get more dynamic range out of this. This is fine. But if I am editing, so for example, a more realistic example of why you would use a camera with more dynamic range is the classic, like you're trying to take a picture with a window. Anybody ever tried to take a picture at a window? So your phone adjusts to show the window bright and then everything inside is dark. Or the phone adjusts to show everything inside is bright, but then the window is blown out and it's completely white, right? So a bigger sensor is able to capture a greater range to your eyes. When you look on that photo that you took, the window might be blown out, but you can actually edit the photo in Photoshop, Lightroom, and get back some detail that was lost in taking a picture of the window. So, you know, so that is, you're kind of going into the advanced things of taking pictures. To the average person that just wants to take a picture, you're like, I don't care about that. But most of these pictures that you see here, like the ones that I showed you from NATO's website, and some of the ones that you saw Kenrick take, like when they go out and capture a picture and they take a picture of a house, out this section here that is much darker, or over here, this information would have been lost if they use a cell phone. Maybe. I mean, there are all kind of fancy tricks that the cell phone uses to create that information, which can work in some cases, I guess. But this, you know, they're like tricks, so to speak, you know, when you talk about low light, this and that. I mean, the sensor in one is 18 times bigger than the other. So, I mean, you can do tricks up to a point, but beyond a certain point, you're going to start to see the limitations. And hence I come back to my bathroom shot here, right? When you zoom in here, if you notice this is on the mirror board, right? This graininess here is what we refer to as information in the camera world. From far, they look kind of the same, but if you look here, this is the iPhone taking a picture here, right? And this is not exactly low light. This is not like nighttime. This is just like a typical interior shot. And I tried to find an area that is like, you know, kind of under a table or somewhere that is kind of dark. The material isn't dark because like this cabinet is black, but if all of this is white, which means that light is bouncing around. But this is what information looks like. A smaller sensor it's doing all sorts of tricks to give you the information. And you can see it, but when you look at this here, it's just like it's night and day. Granted, you're zooming in really small, so this might be valuable to you or not. But when you want to take a nice proper picture, here's another example here. So, so this is the light is on, so I'm taking a picture here and this is kind of low light. But you see this noise here? This noise is kind of like fillers. It's like you have a honeycomb and some of the honeycomb is filled and some is not filled. So
Call it grain, sir.
Right, or grain. So it's trying to estimate, if this grain is black, then this one is gray because the one beside it is lighter gray. So it's trying to go into every little grain and guesstimate what it is. And these are the tricks that the smaller sensor will use to get the image to look nice. But a bigger sensor doesn't need to do those tricks because the information is there, right? So this is primarily valuable when it comes to editing. And, if you're not editing, you don't value information that much. You kind of just value what you get. But if you're a person that you're taking this picture and you especially like if you think about, you want to edit the picture later, you're going to value that information that you're not seeing it, but you know that your camera was able to capture it because you have more leg room. So that is one of the main difference with a larger sensor, but it's not the reason why you would get one of these cameras over this. It's not the only, it's like obviously the major selling point. It's a bigger sensor, but only a small, I mean, not everybody would value that you can get all that information. Now, remember I told you that there are some technical things that this camera has that this doesn't, but there are some psychological things as well, which you may or may not agree with. I remember a long time ago, somebody said, you get a camera. The reason why you learn more about photography from getting a camera is that a physical camera will, what's the right way to say this now? It motivates you to take more pictures. All right, so let me explain, because obviously although we take pictures with our cell phone, but what happens is that because this device only takes only takes pictures, you are more likely to specifically go out and take pictures because you have this device, and then you end up learning more because you have the cell phone. It's like saying if 10 days out of the week you had the cell phone in your pocket versus 10 days of the week you had a camera on you, you would end up taking more interesting pictures with the camera than you would with the cell phone camera. So I will leave that one for you guys to debate, because when I heard that, I was just like, so what? I can go 10 days a week and take pictures with my phone. But, somebody asked a question like, would you drive to Mobay to take a picture of the sunset with your iPhone, or would you drive to Mobay, assuming that you're coming from Kingston, would you drive to Mobay to take a picture of the sunset with your digital camera? They'd be like, So I don't know. I leave that one with you guys to decide, right? Some of the other practical differences. Well, I want to just jump into the different types. What time is it? It's 7:30. Okay, we can go a little bit more because I don't want to bore you to death with all this information, right? But I do want you to know about them so you can know, how to do your photography in architecture. Remember, and let me go back to this, to our guiding star, right? Come on, where is it? Right. In cinematography, we know how cinematography can evoke emotion. It can get you interested in things. And we want to use cinematography in architecture. When we break down cinematography, we need to understand the technology behind it, understand about light, and understand about art. So what we're doing is understanding the technology. So this is like the first kind of step. You have to know a little bit about the technology. All right. So when you summarize everything, there are 3 categories of cameras that you can have. You have the camera phone, you have the compact camera, and you have I shouldn't call this SLR camera. I need a word for this. But you have let's just say SLR camera, right? This has a tiny sensor, this has a medium sensor, and this has a large sensor. There's another one over on the right side that is even bigger than this, but I'm not even putting it there because that's what Hollywood use. There are $7,000 US cameras. We're not going into that realm. We're just kind of sticking down to Earth, planet Earth, right? So these are the most popular that we would use, especially within the field of architecture. Now, this type of camera is divided into 2 types. You have the DSLR and you have the mirrorless, right? I don't know if anybody ever heard the term mirrorless camera. Anybody?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if that $1,500 that I'm giving you to buy a camera, to buy something, to buy a camera, right? You're choosing to spend all that money on a cell phone that has a camera. You could spend half that money on a compact camera or spend all that money on one of these type of cameras, right? Now we talk about the cell phone already, some of the advantages and blah, blah, blah. This guy kind of sits in the middle. And what happened is that less and less I find people going for this option. Anybody have a point and shoot, a compact camera here in class? Anybody have one of these? No?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you have one? Okay, cool. Cool. Which one you have? You remember the name, the brand?
Just one of those cool pics, sir.
Oh, I
They're
know
very old.
those. Yeah, I know those. Those are right. So those cameras, they have a larger sensor than your cell phone camera, but they don't have all the bells and whistles. You can't change the lens and but let's put a price to it. This one costs $1,200. This one costs $300, but has a bigger sensor. And this one this one starts at about maybe $1,000. Yeah, that's reasonable. So as I said, this starts where this ends, right? That's why most people progress from this camera to that camera, or they start here, then they go up there, right? So jumping over so that is these here. So I'm going to skip over these because most persons in architecture, you would possibly get an iPhone or a SLR camera. I don't think you're going to stop in the middle here, but like this makes a good gift for your grandparents or your parents that just go on vacation and they just want to take pictures. They might even still want to use their phones to do that even. But maybe they don't have a good phone. Maybe they have a A16, a A15, which takes horrible pictures, and this costs $200 US. It's not the price of a cell phone, but it can take way better pictures than that A15 phone, right? So let's skip over that. So these are the two that we're really choosing between, right? These are not showing. Why? Why not? Why not? Oh, great. Ugh. And it looks like there is an error. Okay, let's close this. Back. Camera. Okay, here we go. Right. So these are the two. And the main difference between these two guys, we can watch those videos later. One of them, you look through the viewfinder, that's that little window on the back of the camera, in order to see what you're taking a picture of. And the other one doesn't have this. The other one, you look on a screen on the back of your camera to see what your picture takes. All right. So in a way, your cell phone is a type of mirrorless camera because you look on your cell phone and it shows you what the camera is seeing digitally, and then you snap a picture. But the DSLR camera, when you look through the little viewfinder, you're seeing it bounces the light here, up, down, and out. So you are seeing the real thing with your real eyeballs of what you're taking the picture of. So some persons say that is more accurate because I don't want it's kind of like cars of the future. The side view mirror can be a mirror or it can be a camera. Which one you prefer, guys? Do you want your side view mirror to be an actual mirror where you are seeing the car behind you? Or would you rather it to be a camera where you watch a little screen and it is showing what is behind you?
Mirror, honestly, sir, because cameras can lag.
The camera have like, okay, so see, that's one of the reasons why some people like the DSLR camera, right? Because they say, look, I want to see with my own eyeballs. I don't want to see a picture. And there are some other reasons too. I mean, it has to use more battery power because it has to, when you have these types of cameras, the DSLR cameras, it doesn't need to show you a screen of what you're seeing because you're using your own eyeballs. So it doesn't need to use battery life to show you that, if you understand what I mean. It's just using a series of mirror tricks to show you what's outside. Whereas your mirrorless camera, it's all fully automated. So if the car battery dead, you cannot see what is behind you. Though if your car battery dead, you wouldn't be driving, so it wouldn't matter. So I don't know, guys. You get the point, right? So that is the main difference between these two guys. So when you go out to buy a camera, you're choosing between this guy here and this guy here, right? And these are still two very popular options. There's still a lot of DSLR there. The mirrorless camera is like the new type of car that doesn't have rear view mirrors anymore. You have, so these type of cameras are more feature rich. It has all kind of bells and whistles, technology bells and whistles. Maybe old school persons would say, I don't need all that stuff, and vice versa. But that is the main difference between the two. But on the outside, they look the same, almost the same. These mirrorless cameras, they are a little lighter usually, because these old-time cameras not old-time because they're still around, but these DSLR cameras, they have to have all these mirror so that when you look through the viewfinder, you're seeing, but it use up space to give you all of those mirror things. And when you snap a picture, the actual thing that closes is physical, meaning if you remember how the camera works, Remember we spoke about this door? So this door opens, it lets in water, then the door closes. When you press the snap button on a camera, this door closes. So all the light that has come into the camera, in this case, all the water that has come in, is processed. So the process of this door closing is a physical thing in the camera. And that is where you get the click in a camera from. The click was actually real. Of course, your cell phone doesn't have moving parts, so it doesn't really click. But because psychologically we're used to that click, that's why, they mimic it and it clicks. Kind of like the electric car that sounds like it has an engine that revs. Right? Anybody ever stand beside an electric car before? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a little off-putting. It's almost like you park your car on a hill and you didn't pull up the emergency brake. That's what it kind of feels like, because it doesn't have any sound. So they put speakers in some of them and make it sound like a car, like you're playing a game or something. Anyway, so your camera, your mirrorless camera or your cell phone, it has a speaker that when you press it, it goes click to sound like how these camera classically sounds. So the mechanism that does the click is what makes this camera much bigger. All right. And that's really all it comes down to. So anyway, now here is my other question to you guys. Here we go. On one side, you have this cell phone packed with features, right? You have apps, you have a camera, you have a voice recorder, you have a camera, you have a speaker. What else we use our cell phones to do? We take videos with it. We can do all of these things. On the other side here, this is only a camera. You can't store things on it. You can't play games on it.
One function.
It only has one function. So my question to you is it better to have this multifunction device that does all the things that it can do, which is good, but we're just talking about the camera here. We're just talking about the camera. If we isolate the camera feature from a cell phone and isolate the camera feature from a camera, which is impossible, but you get the point. Which one do you think will have more camera-related options?
The camera, sir, because that's what the camera is built for.
Exactly. So that brings us to the third advantage of the camera. It's all about the camera. It's not trying to do other
The phone
things
is
with
like
the camera.
jack of many trades. So it's not. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is the thing. There are some features that are valuable to some persons and some that are not. Right? So for example, there are so much. I mean, I'm not gonna go through the menu of my camera, but oops. Go back to share. Here, all right. There we go. All right. So your average cell phone, I'm gonna use this one here, right? So when I go to camera, which hold on, my camera has frozen. Yes, it did. Yes, it has. Oh, it crashed. The app crashed. Funny we should say that, huh? Okay, it's back now. All right, cool. Okay, I'm back. There we go. Yeah, guys, so case in point, all right? Anyway, so the average features of a camera, right? So usually you have these modes down here, and usually they're good enough for taking pictures, right? But like, in my opinion, when I go through the menu, this is like the typical menu of a camera, right? So you have there, and then these are all the options here, and scrolling, and I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, scrolling. Good. All right. And that covers this object. Let me go down to video. Okay. I have all of these options here for video, and I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, 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 scrolling. Right. Cool. Then we have exposure. So these are all menus here. So if I go into exposure, then I have all of these options here, and I'm scrolling, 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 and I'm scrolling. Okay, I guess you get the point from now, guys, right? Like, this does camera. So when you talk about everything that has to do with taking a picture, this will have more options to do that. Now, some of the options are valuable than others because I don't know everything about this camera, even though I've had it for a while. But for example, one thing that the camera does well, is, for example, bracketing, right? What is bracketing? Well, bracketing is, I have this example here. And not all cameras have this feature, but I'm just showing you some of the features that are valuable to me, right? So I close the folder and trying to remember where the folder is. Okay, right. Let's switch over here. There we go. Okay, yes. I remember where it is now. Here we go. All right. So bring up some of these pictures. These are some pictures of the apartment complex. There's like a million of them, so I don't want to go through every single one. I just want to show you some things that are valuable to me in architecture. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a picture here of the apartment complex that I'm in now, right? So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, they're not in the order that I want it to be in, but let me just pick a few. All right. Now, remember we spoke about dynamic range, right? Or we spoke about sensor size, right? So this is a typical day, and I'm taking a picture of this building here, right? Now, when I use this when I take the picture here, I mean this image looks okay, but we have some gray in here because these areas are a little bit darker. Then we have this area here that's totally blown out, right? So, I mean, we can try and edit that in Photoshop or whatever, but it's white, so you can get so much more and no more, right? That example that I showed you earlier was from like a super expensive camera that can give you that dynamic range. This camera gives you some dynamic range, way more than a cell phone, but still nowhere near to the one I showed you before, right? That one is just thousands of dollars, right? But this one, but nevertheless, the information that was lost in this white area cannot be regained. And the information in these kind of deep green areas here cannot be regained either. So what bracketing does, it takes in rapid succession the picture at different exposure levels, like bam, 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 like in nanoseconds, right? And then what you do is combine these together, which is a really cool trick, by the way, guys. Hopefully I get the time to show you. So what the information that is missing here, I can get it from this image here, right? Can everybody see, is that clear on your screen? Can you see how you
Oh,
can get
yes,
more
sir.
information here? Right. So this is great, but then, you know, I don't want this blown out information here. I would rather use another one from another picture. So, I mean, you could hold up your cell phone and take 3 pictures rapidly, and some of them have the feature to do it. But as I say, information is really for people who do editing. Like, because I'm doing editing, I want to get the most information possible. So if I even put my cell phone down and put it on a timer and take 5 pictures, well, it would be very manual to do it. I would have to go in the phone, change the settings, go in the phone, change the settings. But anyway, even if I did it with the phone, I just wouldn't have the amount of information to begin with. The sensor is way smaller. And then I just don't have the convenience of that feature where I can just snap, bam, bam, bam. So when I have this feature here, so when you look at the final picture, which is this picture here, no, this one, it looks much nicer because I'm able to get all of that information out. And in this case, I wanted this to be kind of blown out because it's a style. You know, this is where the cinematography comes in, which, as I say, it's a little bit objective. One might say, yeah, but this is blown out. And I might say, yeah, but they want it to be blown out. So I'm not going on that road. But the point is that here is nicely lit, right? Even though, you know, it's hard. So the information that I want, I could easily get from this feature. So that's a feature that I value. Another feature that I value, what time is it? I'll show you one more and then we can move on. I mean, there are tons of features that I value and some that I'm just learning about every other day. So yeah. I can find this one. You know that picture, that phone that is 200 megapixels, right? That feature. That's the one I want to show you. That feature here. Here we go. Right. That one. This was testing outdoor. Equipment. Testing panorama high-res shot. It should be one of these. All right, so here we go. Let's look. All right, here we go. So these were some other pictures that I took here. Now, this has a similar feature where it's called high resolution mode, where where is this thing here? Where's my pen? All right, let me just use this pen. No, I can't use that pen because it's going to get small. Come on. There we go. Right. So it kind of has where, let's say this is the camera sensor, and then it physically moves the camera sensor over here to grab this picture. And then it physically moves the camera sensor up here to grab that, and then it physically. So it does a similar thing, and some, I'm not going to say most, I'm just going to say some cameras have this feature where the sensor itself moves around to capture this image. And the thing about it is that the sensor is already big. So it's just like saying, imagine all the information that you could collect. So this, it goes like bam, 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 bam. It does it like 9 times very quickly. And it captures this image, which is the equivalent of a 200 megapixel image or whatever. Just the same, but it actually physically moves the sensor around to capture it, which is a pretty cool feature. Then again, it might be valuable to you or not. I mean, the point of doing that is you can get a really high resolution image. So for example, this image that I took here, right? This image here is 16K, right? So, like 1K, 8K. So this is a 16K image, which is a little insane, but it's like a true 16K. It's not like, you upscale it and do all these fancy things. Like it's actually 16K, like 16,000 pixels. And I mean, this is useful if I wanted to put it on a billboard or something, or I don't know, maybe I want to, in this case, I wanted to capture the entire elevation of this building. And it's a pretty long building, so I have to like step back a little bit and to capture it,
That's using a 200 megapixel camera, sir?
This is
That's what
in
you
the
said?
same camera that I showed you, the same one here. So so yeah, so so there are all of these modes, and then of course there is video, but we're not going into video yet. We're going to kind of stick with images for a while, and then we're going to video. The main aim of this particular first class is to just introduce the main differences between these two devices here, right? Which is really the sensor size and what they do. And also, most persons that end up buying a camera, like throughout CSA, you use your cell phone as your camera. But, maybe moving on to more professional arenas, you would want to get your own camera. This is also equipping you for that as well. Just like our second year architecture gave you knowledge about the technology. So, I mean, if you're going to get a camera, which most people do, I got mine after I left CSA. At least you know what you're working with and really what is the value of these different devices. All right. All right. So I don't want to do much more talking today. I want to kind of end it here. And I didn't get to see some of the pictures. I wanted to see some of the pictures that some of you took, so we can kind of talk about I was hoping to bring up some of the examples of the differences between the cameras and what to look for. All right. Next time we meet, we're going to talk a little bit about image quality, because what I want to break down for you is that image quality is not necessary. Megapixel only deals with resolution. But you have all of these other things, photo size, sensor type, the knowledge of photography, file type of lens, like all of these things come together whenever you're taking your images for whatever purpose, for it to have a particular look. So this is why you can very much use your iPhone to take nice pictures. Like this, this was an actual job, photography job, and it was all shot on an iPhone. All of them was shot on an iPhone. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, we're going to touch on each, well, not all of these, but we're going to touch on knowledge as we work our way down. But the next thing we're going to look at is going to be understanding lighting. So we touched on the technology a little bit. We might go back to technology a little bit because some of the videos I didn't show, but I want us to I don't want us to spend the whole time doing the theory. I want to just try to do a 2-hour theory. And I'll talk about some of these other things as we go through. But anyway, is there any questions? Like, have you guys gained knowledge of the differences between these two and the different things that are valuable? Is there any question on what we discussed? All right, cool. If I was physically there, we would maybe go outside and take some pictures and stuff like that, and we could demonstrate some of these things. But we're going to do that virtually. So before we start to wind down class, I wanted you guys to just, anybody took any pictures, by the way, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So what I wanted you to do is, I wanted you to show me the picture on Mirrorboard, but I also want you to give me a link, and this is not just for me alone. One of my favorite cell phone information websites is GSM Arena. I think they have the largest collection of just types of phones. So you don't have to like write down your specs or whatever. Just find your phone here and just paste the link beside the picture. All right? All right. So let me go first, give you an example. Let me find a picture that I took with my
What's the name of the app, sir? What's the name of the site?
GSM Arena. If you're ever looking to compare specs between phones, that's like the technicians, this is what I heard. The technicians who fix phones, they all use GSM Arena to as their place for information on phone and phone parts and phone serial numbers and blah blah blah. So GSM Arena. All right.
The time is 8:01 p.m.
Let me
Sir, does
see.
it have to be a picture that
Faculty board
you
meeting.
took today, or can be a
Right.
picture from like a couple days ago?
Oh, say that again.
Can it be a picture that we took today, or like a picture that we took like a couple days ago?
Yeah, man, it can be a couple days ago. Doesn't matter. But with that device, the same device that you plan to use, right? So I am going to create the first one.
Sure. Remember to take off the mirror board off of view only so we can edit.
Right. Yep. I'm getting to it in a little bit. All right. I'm always taking pictures. I can find one that's kind of okay, hopefully. Nothing too incriminating, hopefully. All right. Here's a nice one. Just coming home from work, maybe, and maybe snap this picture. This is between the apartments, the same one, but this is just straight from the camera. Let me just go. Oh, I can actually copy a picture. So I'm gonna go to GSM Arena. I'm going to look for what am I again? I am a Z Fold 5. There we go. The color doesn't really matter. I'm just going to pick one. And see, it has all of these specs here down to the nitty-gritty of the camera. So I'm going to copy this link. Stick that here. Why not? Let's copy a picture of the phone too. There we go.
Sir, you don't have a white background. Like a page, a leaf.
Yep. I'm gonna drop a page there like that. I might even add another picture or two. And I'm gonna copy the name. There we go. So I'm gonna say and I think I'm just gonna put the phone name in the name. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. So let me see if I can grab another one. So if you guys want to do two, I don't want to do like 20 pictures or anything. Just like two pictures that you just say, oh, this looks nice. Yeah, I was at this food court eating one time and I'm like, hey, this food court look interesting. Let me take a picture there. I don't know if mirror will capture it should keep the quality. Maybe. Does it? I think I have to download it. Oh yeah. It does make a difference when I download it. I think. Yeah, okay. All right. So if you're gonna copy it from somewhere off the internet, download it first and then you paste it because try and find back that picture. Yeah, I think it was this one. Download. All right. There we go. So let me delete this. And this is we're not doing any kind of editing on these pictures. It's just raw from the camera. Just raw from the camera. All right. Okay, so I'm going to put this to can edit. And we can just use this zone somewhere over here. You guys can just jump on and do that. All right. And remember, these pictures has to be pure from the camera, right? We're not going to do any no photoshopping and what's the other word? That other application, Lightrooming. All right.
Editing, you mean, sir?
Yeah, no editing. No editing allowed. Just pictures, intentional pictures. So not even candid pictures. It can be intentional pictures as well. Right. I remember I went on a trip. So I'm gonna do another one with my actual camera. I went on a architecture trip recently. I'm going to take away Alessandra's space. Put Alessandra down here. And I'm going to put mine here. All right. And right, so this is my phone specs right below. I just paste the link. And this is how each one of we can learn about each other's devices. Doesn't matter if it's high end or not, because we're just talking, we want to just compare the different devices. Like what's the advantage really? You know? So for this one, the place that I work in the daytime, we went and did a field trip. And I took some pictures with my camera. Take that one. Maybe that one. No, maybe that one. Take that one. Oops. So that is one, and okay, I think that one as well. This was a project that the firm that I worked on. The firm that I worked on, right? So we were doing a site visit and we went on 2 different sites. All right, so I'm gonna paste a picture here of my camera. Where is it? There we go. Press escape. There we go. There we go. Now I'm gonna stick that here. Then I wonder where I can find my camera specs. Maybe from the manufacturer's website. So let me Lumix G9. Yeah, found it. So I'm gonna stick that here. All right, so Brian Williams. And Lumix is a Panasonic brand, right? So
Sir?
yeah,
Sir?
go ahead.
No, I was just saying that two I was in the lecturer class earlier today, so I never know that we should have the pictures then. So can I upload to it tomorrow?
Sure. Go ahead
So
and do that.
I get some pictures. So I don't have any like pictures like that.
All right.
You'll have to go explore and take some.
All right. Manika with the 14 Pro Max. Okay, nice. Oh, all right. Yeah. Remember to drag in the pictures here. Yeah, this is you getting some some nice bokeh effects here. You can see that. You ready? Oh, nice pictures. Atkinson. Yeah. So, and I'm glad that we're all posting these pictures here because it goes to show that, I mean, Regina, you have your Galaxy S10. There's so much more that's happening for this picture than the technology. The technology is only one piece of it, right? It's a nice picture, right? All right. Oh, I see. Darren, you have one. Yeah. Oh no, you don't paste your phone yet. It's a copy. Okay. All right. Cool. Cool, guys. All right. Tara, nice picture. What? Yeah, A51 going on bad though, Tara. Hmm?
So thanks.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice picture. Nice pictures, guys. All right. So now, hopefully, I will see you guys next week. Because if I see you guys next week, then that would make your assignment kind of easier. But if I don't see you next week, then it's also good news because that means you went on your study tour. So it's good news all around. All right. So I'm hoping that one of those good news happens. All right. Either you don't go and we can get to continue, or you go and you get to actually go. Right. All right. But this is the main thing that we wanted to cover with today's class. All right. As we go through, we're gonna by the way, you can, for those of you who want to use Lightroom, try and download it. If you can call Mr. Campbell to help you to get it. For those of you who don't want to go through that trouble, you can just use what's called Darktable. It's a free open source. It's just like Lightroom. So that's Darktable. Just Google it. You'll find it. It's very popular. All right. So you can download any one of those programs. And we're going to look on some ideas for editing pictures further into this topic. All right. Okay, guys. So that is pretty much it. In our next talk, we'll start to look at lighting. This was about technology. We're going to look at lighting, and then we're going to look at the art part of cinematography, right? That deals with the artistic part of it. Cool? All right. Nice. Yeah, we're going to look back at some of these pictures later. Especially when we start to talk about lighting, there are some interesting conversations that would come out of it. Why is it that some pictures look nicer than others? What's the difference with some of the lighting and all of these things? All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking now. I've been talking for a while. So, look out. So please finish up your assignment 2. And I will see you next week, maybe, hopefully yes, or hopefully no.
Sir, so by that you mean if we're leaving Tuesday, then we should not come to class Monday.
Right. I was because originally the plan is that if you are indeed leaving Tuesday, usually the class before you leave is tricky. So I assume that I don't even know what to think now because you guys are hopefully packed already and you don't need to run to country to do something. You probably did that 3 times already that you thought you were going. So I don't know. You guys would be prepared if you had to leave Tuesday. Because I don't want to say yes and then half the class don't come. So what is your thought on that? Would you guys, if you have to leave on Tuesday, are you going to be busy Monday? Like, are you going to have classes or attend classes on Monday?
Well,
Let me get some
personally
opinion.
speaking, even I think just maybe not the entire the 2 sessions.
So maybe
Anybody else?
first the lecture alone, sir. And maybe like run through certain thing, important thing, maybe.
Okay, well, tell you what. Let me look at the schedule here. Look at my timetable. Look at the next week, Tuesday is the 5th. And when do you come back again? The 12th?
So the 19th.
19th.
The 19th. Oh. Oh, okay. All right. So here's what we will do then. If it's so it will be the 12th, so you come back on the 19th. So we wouldn't have class on the 18th and the 11th. So the answer is yes, we would definitely we would have to we would do the class on Monday, but what I will do is it will more likely be a short class. I'm not sure. I'll try to see if we can fit everything in the morning session. Because guys, here is the tip is that if we can I want to try to see if some of the things you can do from while you're on study tour. I mean, that's the best situation because the images that you are already going to be capturing images while you're on study tour, right? You're already going to be doing that. So if the images you capture, you can use for your study tour and you can use for advanced computing, then two birds, one stone. The only trick is that I don't know if we can cover all of that content in one class. You know, so we'll see. When I see you guys next week, we will see if we can. If we can't, doesn't matter. All right. But yes, we will do class next week. It may be a shorter class. We will play it by ear depending on how much things we have to cover. All right. All right. Please remember your assignment too, so we can get that out of the way, can get your grades, and yeah. All right. Because those two add up together to give you your theory grade on your class portal. All right.
So when is that due, sir? When is that due, sir? I missed that, sir.
Well, that will be due next week. It's supposed to be 2 weeks for that assignment, just like the one before. Though before was 2 weeks, but yeah, you had asked for a 1 week extension. So next week, Monday, would be 2 weeks from when it was given. Ours was it 3? I don't remember.
Okay then, sir.
All right. So with that said, I'm gonna see you guys on Monday. Maybe for 2 sessions, maybe not. Let's see how it goes. All right.
Sir, in terms of the grades from last semester that were supposed to be corrected, is that still being corrected?
Actually, yes. I will send you an email on it during this week. I normally do those things in bulk because there were some other students that also had to get sent off as well. So I kind of just put everything together to send it off to admin. So so yes, your thing should be processed this week.
Okay,
all right.
sir. Thank you.
Cool. I actually spoke to Miss Baker today about it. So yeah. All right. So that seems like it for today. All right. We will continue this next class. So have a good rest of the week, guys. All right.
All right, sir. Take care.
All right. Take it easy.
Okay, sir.
this man raped her. 10 years. And when nobody helped her, and when she came, it's like, I think they should have given her therapy, and I think they should have given her the people that who suffer like that shouldn't get more than 5 years.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
Because they have to prove themselves. No, the more cases they solve,